Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, am I audible and visible? I think I'm visible.
Crystal clear, sir. Crystal clear.
Yeah. Yeah. So, thank you for Brahman sir for having me, and I think it is always a pleasure talking to RYB participants. And the fact that they are actually like open to ideas and also like say eager to learn. Right, makes my job much more easier, and also like say it becomes very productive. That is for sure. That has been my experience with RBB participants, and looking forward for a great session and an interactive one. So this basically the financial freedom challenge is all about like say making you have a blueprint for your like say financial freedom. Financial freedom is nothing but a juncture of or a phase of your life wherein you no longer need to work to earn the money to survive as to excel in your life, right? So this overall program is divided into two sessions. One is this which is happening now, and also there will be one other more practical session where actually you will be generating your own financial plan with of course my help. So that is the second part of the session. So this part is like say more of what you call discussion in nature, and also like say interactive in nature. Okay. So I would urge all of you to be like say interact. To be participative, and also to ask questions whenever you think you need to ask. Right. So first of all, I think I thank you for being here. The fact that at this hour of the day your ear shows a lot. It actually like I appreciate your intent, right? Okay. Let me directly jump into the session, and with an interesting statistic though. If you look at like say 20% of Indians own 86.6% of the country's wealth. Okay, I just want your opinion. Why do you think? Okay, so only like say, so if you look at the poorest 60% own only 4.7% of the wealth, but whereas like say 20% of the Indians own 86.6% of the country's wealth. So I just want your like say what you call view as to why is this so, right? I would appreciate if you can keep writing it on the chat, so that I'll also like say understand your perspective and also like say about finances and money. Yes, please keep coming. Yeah, so Mr. Milind is saying that okay, money makes money. Yeah, it is not necessarily that it is not necessary all the people who have like money have inherited money. So there are like say many first time millionaires, and also like say there are many people who have created wealth for themselves and their families. Mindset, Raz says mindset, and hoarding money. Hoarding money, and this is called as Pareto. No, this is not Pareto basically. Like Pareto is like say, yeah, where 20% of the like, yeah. So I think the statistics actually like say maybe is in sync with Pareto, but again like say what you call this situation is a little different from Pareto principle. Lack of financial education, Deepti is saying. Yeah, I think you're all partially right, but if you ask me like say there is one more thing which is very very like one more trait or like a parameter I would say which is very very important or critical. Okay, so that is basically financial literacy. Okay, if you look at only 24% of the Indians are financially literate. Okay, so what it means is also like say a vast portion of the people like who actually own the wealth are actually financially literate. It also means that. Okay, and if you look at there have been many studies conducted all over the world that which clearly infers that okay, so the more the financial literate you are, it is actually proportional to the family's wealth, actually a net worth you can say. Okay, so that is very it is actually a known fact basically, which means that if you are financially literate, and there is a high probability that you'll also end up with higher net worth. Okay, so that is it brings back to the mute question, like say, are you financially literate? Okay, so how many of you think I mean, if you're financially literate, you can say I am. If you're not, say again, I'm in the process of becoming one. Or like say, if you think you're partially literate, you can say you're partially literate. But I would want you to want to understand the pulse of the audience, like say, so that I mean, I can also keep the discussion relevant. Yeah, Vidyashri says I'm not, and I'm partial. Sagarika, I am partially literate. I am not. Raz says I'm not. Any more answers? Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think most of you are like telling me that you're not, I mean, really financially literate. I think then I will actually like, yeah, beginner mode. It is a continuous process, Mr. Dr. Shetty says. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I think financial literacy is one of the important, what you call, I would say, I would call it as life skill. You know, why it is a life skill? Because, like, say, for example, what happens in countries like US, UK, or developed countries, what happens is financial literacy is a subject which is there in their schools, basically. Okay, but unfortunately it is not so in India. Hopefully that also becomes, I mean, the mainstream message. See, the challenge is, like say, when it comes to, I mean, in India, like say, I mean, financial literacy is not a part of the what you call mainstream education. At the same time, you have a lot of what you call institutions and individuals mis-selling, like say, financial products to, I mean, people. So thereby, what happens is there is a lot of what you call erosion of wealth rather than creation of wealth. So financial literacy becomes very, very important and critical for you to, I mean, for you to be one. Okay. So let me, I mean, now that, I mean, now that you have known that financial literacy is one of the important skills, or the key skills for you to accomplish financial freedom. And also I have told you, I mean, you have also, like say, confessed, I mean, you are in the process of becoming financially literate, or you are partially literate. Then let us skip the first part of the session in making you completely financially literate. If you ask me, like, I became financially literate, I mean, when my son was born, that was almost, like say, 16 years before. Okay. So in fact, in spite of me being a graduate in banking and economics, I was not financially literate. Can you believe that? Okay. So that is how it is, like say, so that is how, like say, when you also, like say, no, I mean, trying to understand what is financial literacy, you need to understand what are the concepts. Okay. So that make you literate. Right. So in this first part of the session, I'm going to discuss about the few important concepts that will make you financially literate. Okay, so what my promise is, in the next 15 to 20 minutes, you will become financially literate. Okay, so that is the agenda of the first part of the session. Okay. So yeah. So there is a question for you. So Mr. Dipesh Mehta is in 30% tax bracket. His bank is giving him 7% interest on his FD. So my question is, what is his real rate of return? Okay. So the answers are given are 7%, 0%, and 4.9%. You have to choose one answer. You can probably type in the chat box. Yeah, I have answers like 0, 0 from Vasudev, 0 again, and 4.9 from Raz, and 0 from Ram Singh. Vidashri 4.9, 0 mind-blowing Milind, less than 0 after tax. Then Anjay. Yeah. And Apurva. I also see that people who have actually participated in my previous session are here, and I think probably that is one of the reasons why I'm getting the percentage of correct answer more. Okay, so I think 0 is the right answer. Basically, so negative return is basically like if you take post-tax real returns. See, the point I'm trying to drive is, like say, there is something called as inflation, I mean, which is actually associated with countries like India, which is a growing economy or a developing emerging market, basically. So inflation is something which is always associated with it. And when you want to create wealth, or wealth creation will only happen. So wealth creation will only happen when you are able to generate inflation adjusted return. The real rate of return is nothing but over and above inflation. What is the kind of return that you are able to generate? Okay, so that is what is known about the real rate of return. Okay, when you talk about tax adjusted return, it is actually like say 4.9%, which I'm not taking inflation into consideration. Okay, so the thing is, what I'm trying to tell you is, like say, whenever we are talking about, like say, whether it is financial freedom, whether you are talking about, like say, creating wealth, it is important to understand that you have to generate generate a return ROI on your, like say, investment, which should be more than whatever, which should be more than the inflation. Okay, that is the concept that I'm planning to, I mean, I'm trying to drive here. Okay, so when you are actually, like say, investing, make sure that, I mean, you are able to generate a return which is over and above inflation. Okay, so that is nothing but the real rate of return. In this case, it is zero because, like say, it is not even covering the inflation part of it. Okay, hope I'm clear about this. So this is, like say, understanding the concept of inflation. Like if you understood, like say, in inflation's concept of inflation, and the opposite of it is deflation. So then I would say 20% or 20 to 5% of your like say, for example, you are financially literate to that an extent. Okay, so next part is, like, so we spoke about like the wealth creation. For wealth creation, what is important is, like say, investing. Okay, so for investing, so you need to understand what is an investment, whether this is an investment product or not. Like say whether this is a, and also you need to understand the difference between like asset class and a financial product, basically. So here, I mean, these are the three words which are interchangeably used by. It could be by even agents or distributors, or even by the common people. Like say these three words are interchangeably used, and also by, I mean, also mistaken, and actually, like say, case of mistaken identities. Okay, so if you look at, I mean, the first word, which is actually insurance. Insurance is basically meant for managing risks. Okay, it is not an investment, and it is actually like accounted as an expense in your accounting, basically. Okay, so that is what insurance is all about. Insurance is where a group of people who are exposed to similar risk. Okay, so they come together and actually, like say, create a pool of corpus. Okay, so that, I mean, people who's in difficulty actually, or who comes across the contingency, can avail that. Okay, and insurance is not meant for profit. It is not meant for profit. Okay, so the word is insurance is basically there to make good of for any financial losses, unforeseen financial losses. Okay, if you already know that this loss is going to happen, and you will not have that kind of, you will not have insurance for that, basically. Okay, so insurance is then, like say, is when it is unforeseen, basically, and it's a contingency. So that is what insurance is all about. And the first rule of investing, or the first rule of insurance, is that never combine insurance with investment. Okay, so I'm going to the next part, which is savings. Basically, savings is nothing but you're going, it actually a parking of your money with a short-term objective. Okay, so what it means is, like say, in case of savings, you are actually not going to take any risk, basically. Okay, so when you, in after of your income, you are going to keep some portion of your income aside, which you're not spending. All right, that is savings, basically. So savings is basically your savings bank account. Your FD is also savings only, and say, and also, like say, any short term, I mean, any short term parking, I mean, areas of your money, which can be called as savings. Okay, as I told you, savings will not involve much of risk. It is more about, like what you call parking your money aside. All right. And the third one is, like, so this is the important part of it, which is investments. Okay, investments are always, like say, I mean, it is always a long term horizon. When the point number one, point number two, there will be a certain element of risk involved in it. Okay, so that is basically the investment part of it. Now I think you are clear about insurance, you are clear about savings, you are also clear about investments. Investments, like say, where you are investing in, like say, real estate, you are investing in gold, or you are investing in equities, or you are investing in, like say, any other asset class for that matter. So investment is all about that. Okay, so now that you know that you need to actually invest to create or to generate an inflation adjusted return, and you also know investment has to be done in investment products, and it is not in savings and insurance that you need to be investing, right? So now this also covers around 20-25% of your, let's say, financial literacy. If you understand the first part and the second part, I think you are financially literate to an extent of around 40-50%, I would say. Okay, so now I think after understanding that, okay, so you actually now you understand inflation. You also understand the difference between what you call insurance, savings, and what you call investment. Okay, so where do you invest? Right. So the challenge comes when you don't understand, like, say, the financial products. If you look at any financial product that you invest in, okay, any financial product that you invest in, like, say, we'll have the base or the underlying only 4 asset classes will be there. Okay, so what are those 4 asset classes? So one is, like, say, equities is where you invest in businesses. Okay, so any business for that matter, like, say, if it is listed on the exchange, okay, and you are buying the shares, or so then you are investing, or you are becoming a part of that business. That is nothing but an equity investment. Okay, so second is, like, say, fixed income or debt investment. Okay, what is fixed income? Fixed income is where you are lending money. Okay, so if you're lending money to bank, it is known as FD/RD. If you're lending money to, like, say, a government, it is known as PPF, EPF, or the various government schemes, basically. And it is also, like, say, the tax-free bonds, where you are lending money to government. So if you're lending money to corporates, it is known as NCDs, it is known as corporate deposits, and various other, like, say, financial products, lending debt financial products, basically. So the first two, which I spoke about, equities and also fixed income, the first two asset classes are, if you look at, is more financial in nature. Okay, it is not physical in nature. The third asset class I'm talking about is, like, say, precious metals, which is more specifically, I would name it as gold. Okay, and the fourth asset class is basically real estate. Okay, so what you have to understand is any financial product that you actually, like, say, come across will have a portion of this asset class, or completely one asset class, basically. So it is a combination of any of these 4 asset classes or one asset class. So that is what you need to understand. And what also you need to understand is, like, say, this, you actually, if you look at even experts, sometimes they actually, like, say, what you call use wrong words. Say, for example, mutual funds is not an asset class. Mutual fund is only a vehicle which actually gives exposure to all the 4 asset classes that I mentioned. So mutual fund is a financial product. So understanding the difference between an asset class and a financial product is also very important. And at any point of time, if you are actually looking at one financial product, it is also important to decipher. So what are the asset classes that it contains? Let's say, for example, there could be one financial product which can have a part in gold, which can have a part in real estate, or which can also have some portion invested in equities, right? So what I mean to say is, like, say, you need to understand, okay, so what are the asset classes that actually you are investing in? So point number 1. Point number 2, when you are actually looking at any financial product, you have to understand, okay, whether this is an equity product, whether this is a fixed income product, or whether it is, like, say, what you call, whether it comprises of gold, or whether it comprises of real estate. One more important point that you need to, like, say, be cognizant of is that, okay, so when you are actually, like, if you are saying me that, okay, so you have invested in jewelry, therefore you have invested in gold, it is not the way to actually be. Or if you say that you have invested in, like, say, what you call a house property or an apartment, and it is not a real estate investment, because those are a lifestyle asset. Okay, so there is a lot of difference between a lifestyle asset and an investment asset. Okay, so a lifestyle asset is itself a goal, basically. Say, for example, if you want to buy a villa or an apartment, okay, so that itself is a goal. It is not a means to a goal. Okay, so investment is always a means to a goal and not a goal in itself. Like, say, for example, jewelry itself is a goal. It is not a means to a goal. What I mean by means to a goal is, like, say, you are going to sell that asset and actually fulfill your goal obligation, basically. So that is what is a means to a goal. But if it is a goal itself, let's say you don't plan to sell your apartment or a house and fund your like say daughter's or son's education, right? Or you don't want to like say fund your retirement by selling your property that you think that you have invested, right? So understanding the asset classes, understanding what you call understanding like say the financial products is very very important and crucial, and also over and above differentiating between a lifestyle asset and an investment asset is very very crucial for you to become financially literate. You know what happens is like say, see it is, I always keep telling that, okay, so any financial decision has two components. One is an economic component, the other one is an emotional component. Okay, so when you are actually like say what you call making decisions, it is important that economics should prevail. Okay, actually like say as an investment, it is more of an emotional decision. Okay, so you have to be very very aware of this fact that, okay, so whether you are actually investing in a lifestyle asset or an investment asset, because the metrics that you employ to make sure whether this is the right investment or not is totally different. In case of a lifestyle asset, it is more of a emotional decision. In case of an investment asset, it is an economic decision, right? So you have to be very 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 clear about like say when you are deploying your money, okay, whether it is a lifestyle asset or an investment asset. If you have a lifestyle asset, it is more of an emotional decision, where there we are not looking at, okay, so the returns, there we are not looking at, okay, so the growth that it is going to happen, there we are not looking at liquidity, right? We are looking at all those things that I mentioned, looking at the ROI, looking at the growth, and also liquidity. So the criteria is like say very very different. Okay, so that you have to be mindful of. Okay, so now I think you have already learned three concepts, and this is the fourth concept of being financially literate. I'm sure, like say, you would have heard this. Like if you have participated in my previous sessions, also you would have know. I mean, probably this is one of the very commonly. I mean, people come across. Where more often than not, where Albert Einstein said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and who doesn't pays it. So basically like now you know that, okay, so you need to generate what you call inflation adjusted return. Now you also know what is an investment, difference between investments and insurance, and you also know what are the asset classes, right, that you need to invest in, or like say you can think of investing in. And now that comes the most important thing, like say so how do you generate what you call the wealth, the wealth that we are talking about is like say one of the important concepts is the power of compounding, which means that, okay, so say for example the duration, like so that you, if you give time to your investing, automatically there are more number of compounding periods. Right. So the more the number of compounding periods, the more the wealth that you end up with. Okay, so if you look at the wealth creation journey, there are three important factors. Okay, so one is like say you can increase your like say income. Okay, so if you want to create more wealth, one is increase your income, of course, that is one possibility. The second one is like say decrease your expenses. Okay, so that's the second possibility. The third possibility is like say where you have to increase the return on in your investments basically. Okay, so these are the three things. These are the only three probable possibilities of you in creating wealth. Okay, so apart from these three, say for example, if you add that element of time and if you give that number of compounding periods higher, automatically the wealth creation will be higher basically. Okay, so I think most of you would know this story, and where I think in the previous slide I said that people who understand like what you call power of compounding earn it, and people who don't understand actually like pay it. So this is the story of like say the poet and the king, where actually like the king, without being aware of the power of compounding principle, he actually like promised a reward where he actually like say if a grain of rice is placed on one box of the what you call chessboard, and also like say doubled every next square, at the end of like say what you call 64 squares, so that is at the end of 63 times of compounding, this is a number actually like that actually turns out And this is the number of grains basically at the end of what you call the 63rd compounding period. And I mean, if you want to quantify it, this is how much it will be. That is 18 quintillion 446 quadrillion 744 trillion 73 billion and 709 million 600,000. Okay, so that I think this is the kind of like say it is actually a kind of magic that happens like say when you allow something to compound. And in fact like say this many number of grains will actually translate into a trillion metric tons. So that is why the king went bankrupt, and the poet made all the wealth. Okay, so this actually, the point I'm trying to drive is like say the emphasize the power of compounding, and like say when you actually give time to your investing, automatically like say you'll be able to create wealth. So apart from the ROI, that is return on investment, and apart from the income, which I'm looking at increasing it or like say decreasing your expenses, the another component that actually can add to increasing your like say what you call wealth is compounding. So that is also like say plays a critical role in your wealth creation. And also like say it is a critical part of your financial literacy journey, I would say. Not only understanding it, appreciating it, and also following it is very very important. And also like say that is when you will be able to like create wealth. Okay, so now I think I have explained 4 concepts of like say financial literacy, and the next one is the 5th one. Basically, if you look at these are the 5 important concepts of like say financial literacy. So I would actually assign 20% what you call to each of the concepts that I actually discussed now. The first one I think I spoke about inflation. The second one is like say the difference between insurance, investments, and savings. And the third one is like say the various asset classes, understanding asset classes. So that is the third one. And the fourth one is like say the power of compounding. And now comes the most important and critical part of it, which most people I think would not know, or they assume that they will know, but they would not know. So that is where I am talking about financial numeracy. Okay. So now in the previous slide, I spoke about that. If you need to like what you call create wealth, you need to probably like generate higher ROI or return on your investments, or even for that matter, like say if you need to generate a positive real rate of return, you need to have like say an inflation adjusted return basically. So it's important that you quantify return, right? So if you're not able to quantify return, I think there is no point in like say whatever the exercise that you're trying to do. That might not actually be what you call that might go futile actually. If you don't actually quantify whatever you're trying to do, probably you will not be able to accomplish your goal. Okay, so the point I'm trying to drive is here, like say one, you know that you need to compound your investments. You know a certain rate of return you need to generate. Okay, so then it is also important to know that, okay, so what is the kind of returns that you have generated already, or how to like say measure returns. Okay, so this is one of the important part of like say being financially literate. I call it as financial numeracy, which is like what you call is a critical part of your like investing journey or wealth creation journey. Okay, so I'm actually discussing that the previous slide here. Okay, so basically, if you look at here, I'm giving you an example of like an investment made, and also like say what is the kind of returns that you are actually got, and if it is an absolute return or if it is like say annualized return, what is the kind of inference that you need to make. Okay, so then the first case study, and the stocks are purchased. Assume that there is an X number of stocks. It is purchased into 2018, and as in 2021, it is showing an absolute return of 30%. Okay, in 3 years. Okay, so what happens is like say, in fact, like even until recently, many of the brokers were not showing you the annualized return. They were only showing absolute return. Okay, so what happens is like say when you look at this absolute return, you look at, okay, so you're getting 30% return, but you don't look at, okay, so this 2018 and 2021. Okay, so there is a 3 years gap. Okay, so what happens is like say you assume that you're getting a higher return, but actually you would not have got that kind of return. Okay, So if you annualized it, okay, so basically what is annualizing? You are trying to find out at what rate your investment has compounded. Okay, so I was talking about the, like say, compounding is very important and you have to, like say, compound. Here you are trying to find out at what rate your investment is compounded, basically. Okay, so when you look at the absolute return, it is a point to point returns. So which means that from 2018 to 2021 total, in the period of 3 years, you have got 30% return. Okay, so but when you annualize it, you will come across that this is nothing but this 9.14%. Okay, so where you are trying to find out each year how much it has given and it is compounded over a period of time. Okay, so which means that, okay, so if you invested 100 rupees, okay, so next year it became 109.14, and over 109.14 there is again, like say, 9.14% return, and over the, like that, if that 30% is actually, like say, bifurcated as, like say, annualized in 9.14, basically. So what you have to understand is this 9.14, whether this 9.14 is actually a real rate of return, inflation adjusted return, and whether it's a sustainable return and also a scalable return. Okay, so that is what is very, very, then you will come to know, okay, so the difference between absolute return and also what you call annualized return. So this happens many a times. And also, like say, in case, like say, in case if you're investing in real estate, this is also, like say, one of the, like what we call common phenomena where people perceive, okay, so because real estate transactions are always in lakhs and crores, they perceive, okay, so for example, if you say you have made some 20 lakhs out of your real estate transaction, and so probably if you don't calculate exactly taking everything into consideration, you might end up, I mean, assuming or presuming that you have got a very high what you call returns. But it is important that you should understand that you always have to have a agnostic view. Agnostic view is whether it is, like say, real estate, whether it's gold or equities or, like say, fixed income, you should actually have a one single metric or process to actually evaluate. Okay, so this what I'm trying to tell you is, like say, for example, if you take this real estate where it was invested at, I mean, 10,000 rupees in 1960 and sold for 1 crore in 2020. Okay, and people talk about, okay, it's going to be it has been an 100x return. But when you talk about that, like say, there is a huge difference in time gap. Okay, so we are talking about 1960 and, like say, for example, and now, okay, so basically, like say, 2020. So basically what I'm talking about is, like say, this huge time gap, there is a huge many number of compounding periods here. Okay, so the more the number of compounding periods in and the IRR or the what you call the annualized return, okay, it will be less, basically. Okay, so what I'm trying to drive the point is, like say, try to understand, I mean, what is the kind of return that you have generated, and also, like say, year market, I mean, IRR or like a CAGR that you have to generate. So that will give you a lot of clarity on where you should invest. Okay, first thing what you need to know is, like say, how much is the rate of return that I should be generating, which also gives you an idea how much you should be earning, how much you should be investing, and where you should be investing. Okay, so here, like say, there are two metrics which I spoke about. One is, like say, CAGR, another one is XIRR. Okay, so if you look at, don't get into too much of technicalities, but I mean, say for example, if you are investing lump sum, you can use the metric CAGR, that is compounded annual growth rate. If you are actually using what you call, if you're making staggered investing, like say for example, in case of an LIC policy, I mean, that is not where you should invest, but in case if you have invested, so that is the ideal what you call way to measure is, like say, IRR. Use XIRR, annualized. See, basically, I'm trying to annualize the cash flows and come out with the kind of return that the product is generated. Okay, so that is basically the difference between CAGR and XIRR. So in case if you are doing an SIP also, XIRR is the right metric to measure the returns. So in case you have done a lump sum investment, then in case of that, you have to measure CAGR. Don't go by absolute returns. Absolute returns is basically a point to point returns. Yeah, I think now I congratulate all of you, and you are now officially financially literate, I would say. And because you understand 5 important and critical components of what you call financial literacy, and if you actually like have, I mean, if I am able to inculcate these 5 concepts in you, I think I have done justice to my time as well as yours. And I congratulate you. I mean, I think this is going to be the foundation for your wealth creation journey. And if you have any questions with respect to, I mean, the concepts of financial literacy, you can actually ask me. Otherwise, I'll keep moving.
Kishorji, this is Deepthi. Can you explain one more time about that asset class and financial class one more time, if you don't mind?
So asset class is basically like the underlying asset in any financial product. Okay. So which means that, okay, as I told you, there are only 4 asset classes mainly. Say, for example, equities is where you invest in companies. Fixed income is where you lend money, and gold and real estate. There could be some new or exotic asset classes as well. Traditionally, and also like say, I mean, what is proven is only 4 asset classes. So which means that, okay, so say suppose like you are investing in a what you call bond, okay, a bond, government bond. Okay, let us assume that you are investing in a tax-free bond, tax-free government bond. Okay, so you need to identify, okay, what asset class it belongs to, right? So what is that government bond? Government bond is nothing but it gives you fixed interest. It will also give you a principal back, right? So the asset class it is actually is fixed income or debt basically. Okay, so suppose like say you are investing in like say what you call shares, okay, or you have opened a demat account and you invest in shares basically, which means that, okay, so you have become part of that company, or say for example if you own a percentage of shares in a company, so which means that you are a owner or part owner to that company, which is an equity investment. So it is basically the words that you need to understand. Okay, equity is where you are becoming a part of business, that is an asset class. And debt is the debt is where you are actually lending money. Even if you're lending money to your friend also, it is a debt investment where you are expected, or like say you are actually supposed to get the interest, periodical interest, as well as the principal back. Okay, so in case of equities it is not that. Like say for example, if you are invested in a company, there is no obligation for them to give the investment back basically. Okay, so it can actually like say if the company is doing good, your whatever you are invested is actually will actually do good. They might also give you dividends, but it is like say there is a kind of uncertainty or a kind of risk involved in it. Okay, so that is basically the equity investment. And of course, you know what is gold and real estate, I am sure, right? So basically, say for example, mutual funds is one financial product which can actually give you what you call exposure to any of the like say 4 asset classes that I mentioned. Is that clear?
Yes.
Deepthi,
Yeah.
am I clear? Like,
Yeah. Thank you so much.
yeah. I think Sagarika is saying I didn't understand the absolute returns with examples. So I will actually like try to like elaborate a little bit on more on this one. So basically what I meant in that example is basically like say, when you actually don't take consideration of time, okay, absolute return is nothing but, okay, say for example, you are only telling from point A to point B, what is the total return you have generated. Okay, but you are not telling me per year. If you're not annualizing it and telling me how much you have generated that per year or per month kind of a thing. Okay, so that is the difference between annualized return and absolute return. Absolute return is a point to point returns. Like say for example, you have invested something in 2020 and you are selling that the same thing in 2025. Okay, but I assume that you have got a total return. You invested 100 rupees and it became 200 rupees. Okay, so what happens is like say that is like say if you might talk about like say you have generated 100% return, that is absolute return, say from say 2020 to 2025. But when you annualize it, what is that it has generated return per year? Then I mean that is where actually like I spoke about the compounding as well, as at what rate it has compounded. All right, that is when you will have to measure using CAGR or XARR. Okay, so
Yeah,
that
got
is,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Right, I think so. I mean, can we conclude that we are all financially literate here? For me, it took a lot of like money and mistakes to become financially literate. I think consider you all lucky because you are becoming, financially literate in an easier way, sitting at the comfort of your home, and you have become financially literate. I think it is time to celebrate, and also like say appreciate the fact that you are now financially literate, and it is going to be like what you call great foundation for your future wealth creation journey. And I think you're all fortunate enough to become financially literate and become the 24% be part of the 24% of the population and aspire to become financially free.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir. Sir,
Yeah,
however, explain, oh, sir, for me, the fear of investing in shares is still there. Okay. So what is the minimum amount I can invest and get confidence in the process? The least or the minimum amount?
See, there are some various ways to do that. Okay, so basically, if you look at this whole process of investing, wealth creation, it is more about, I always keep telling this, no, personal finance is more about the person than about finance. Okay, so it is more of psychological in nature. It is not about numbers for sure. Okay, it is about understanding yourself. And also, like say, see, if you look at like, okay, so there is one thing which is known as instant gratification. There is one thing which is known as deferred gratification. Okay, so instant gratification is where you are spending the money now. Okay, and you are also looking at, like say for example, buying an iPhone is all about instant gratification. Okay, suppose if you are actually saving your and investing money for buying a villa, okay, so it is a deferred gratification. Okay, so I mean both will actually derive some kind of happiness. Okay, so but it is different. Basically, it will, the deferred gratification will be also exponentially higher. Okay, so what we have to actually like understand is, so there is something called as like say what you call risk or volatility if you're looking for higher return. Okay, so that you have to embrace it. Okay, and also there, when you're talking about risk, there is also something known as your willingness to actually like say take risk, and also your ability to take risk. Okay, so we need to evaluate. Okay, so whether, I mean, you might be willing to invest in equities, but you don't have the ability itself, in the sense like say financially you don't have the ability. Okay, so which means that, okay, so if there is a dent in your portfolio, it is going to be a big one. It is going to, I mean, impact your pockets in a deep way. So in that case, you don't have the ability, but you have the willingness. Okay, what it requires is both willingness and ability to actually like say take risk, assume risk, and also create wealth. Okay, so that is a process of like say evolution, and also it happens over a period of time. And coming back to your question, like say what is the minimum amount you can invest, you can also invest 100 rupees, you can invest 50 rupees, you can invest 10 rupees. Okay, so because technology is so advanced, and also that, I mean, it is a, I mean, if you look at, I mean, technology equalizes everyone. I mean, like earlier it was a different era where only, I mean, people who, I mean, I mean, in fact, I mean, initially I got answers that money creates money, or rich create, I mean, become more richer. It is not like that. No, I'm also equal to you. You are also equal to me. We are all having equal opportunities. It is the action that we take that differentiates me from you, right? Or somebody, I mean, who is able to achieve that one, and somebody who is not able to achieve that one. Right? It is all about ourselves. It is all about you. If somebody is responsible for you not becoming financially free, it is only one person, that is you.
Sir Ram Singh, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Singh.
Sir, I wanted to ask about this. LIC was about to come with a IPO in this year end, and
Right.
shall we go for that? What is your recommendation?
No, that is too early and too premature. So basically, if LIC, I would not recommend you to buy an LIC policy, but maybe I think I have to look at the fundam. No, I'm telling you, like I'm coming to that. Okay. So, but they are very good at like say selling policies or mis-selling policy to people.
Correct.
The company is making money for sure, and I presume to be a good IPO basically. But again, like I said, valuations are important. At what valuations they are issuing the IPO, we have to look at that. Again, that is a government company. They will be actually, they are government-owned institution. There will be risks of PSU, I mean risks also. So it is a holistic decision that I think that has to be taken at the point of time. They will give an offer document. And the offer document, they would have mentioned in the prospectus. So that we evaluate and then come to know, like say, what is the kind of investment, whether it is worth going or not.
In the sense that they have a lot of money, unclaimed money. LIC have a lot of unclaimed money.
Unclaimed
And-
money, like say, has to be transferred to the IEPF, so it will not be
Yes.
with them.
Okay.
So they have to, any financial institution has to transfer it to after 7 years, automatically inactiveness, it will go to IEPF, so it will not remain with LIC.
So, what do you say? When is next month is coming out with that IPO?
I'm
No
not
idea.
sure about the dates. Basically, I mean, if you're subscribing to our blog, we actually give IPO recommendations on a regular basis. We also cover LIC, also we will cover. So you will get a what you call you will get a notification.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you suggest for IPO or secondary market?
Sir, we can take that questions at the end of the session. Basically, I was actually trying to cover this financial literacy part, and if you have the objective of this part of the session was to make you financially literate, and since I think you are a seasoned investor,
Thank you,
probably
sir.
yeah, so I will definitely answer all your questions,
Right,
but
sir.
at the end of the session, so that so that I can keep the discussion contextual and also relevant to everyone.
Right, sir.
You can also always reach out to me. Also, I can share my number, or I can also share my email
Yeah.
ID, so that
Sir,
we are in the interest of everyone's time.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
So I think yeah. So I think I've articulated in a what you call way that you are able to understand also say and become financially literate. That I mean, if I've done that, I think the first objective is fulfilled. And so next is what is going to be the building blocks. Now this is the foundation. Now there are going to be building blocks of the framework for financial freedom basically. So now let us get on to the next part of it and understand what it is all about. Yeah. If you look at, I think you can identify yourself in any of the what you call levels that you are in. And so there are 5 levels when it comes to the wealth pyramid, and the bottom is the scarcity level. And so the fourth is say, and bottom is scarcity, where you are not able to meet ends, and you might have also say what you call and you might be in debt also, or one might be in debt, is not able to what you call meet their obligations, and that is the scarcity zone. And the next actually level or the zone is actually where you're able to meet ends, but there is nothing like a saving and all, so whatever is coming is going off. Okay, so that is the level 4. And level 3 is where you are actually having a surplus. Okay, so surplus where you are actually growing, and also say you're able to meet your ends, you're meet your obligations, and you also have a surplus which can also be allocated for your future. Okay, so most of the people that I meet come into the level 3 part of it. And it is not that I have not met people in level 4 or level 5. There are say few percentage of that, but again say where we have helped them manage their debts and say create wealth as well. So it is a journey say from level 5 to level 1 is what people aspire. So that see, this is money is not everything, but that is also an important component of you. If you want to ultimately be successful and be happy, so then I think this becomes an important what you call metric, or this something should run on automated mode, so that you need not worry about this aspect. All right. So so I think 3 or level 4 is what say people I actually come across very often. So basically say they want to elevate themselves to level 2. Level 2 is where you have financial freedom, which means that you need not actively work, okay, to generate the money for your sustaining your lifestyle. Okay, so then what is the difference between level 2 and level 1? Level 1 is where you have enough not only for you, but also for the generations to come, and also you can afford to what you call give to others basically. So if you want to experience the joy, abundance joy of giving, so then it is say probably the level 1 that you should aspire for. And the second level is where you actually say it is a comfortable level where you have enough for your lifetime, as well as say you need not worry about, or you need not actually work to fulfill your living obligations basically. So that is basically so the objective of this workshop is to, I mean, elevate you, or to give you a blueprint. So how you can actually from level 5 to level 3 to level 2, or level 4 to level 2, how you can go. So that is the blueprint that is actually like the objective, to give you a blueprint, like say path, to give you a path for your financial freedom. Okay, so that is the what you call objective of this workshop. So in the part 2 of the workshop, where I will actually be like taking you through, I mean, making you generate your own financial plan, and you will actually have a exact blueprint of, like say, what it takes to, like say, reach from your level to the higher level. So I will actually, like say, now like say, for example, like what I mean, where, in which level you belong to. And so there is one aspect, if you don't take care of it, like say, you will be pushed from, I mean, higher levels to lower levels overnight. Okay, so I will be talking about that. Is okay. So this is like a screenshot from a platform known as Milap, which is a crowdfunding platform. And so basically, people here, there are here, like say, for example, if it is like Madhu and Vinayak, or even like say Santanu, Paul, these are people like who, I mean, you and me, right? They didn't intend to be, I mean, featured here. I mean, this is, I mean, something like say becoming famous for the wrong reasons. All right. So, so I mean, why actually they are here? Like say, I mean, they are all middle class people, like family like us, like you and me, but they are unfortunately they are here. So because they actually didn't actually do something right. Basically, it was a small thing to do, and it would not have costed them fortune, or even like say a few thousands of rupees. But actually, like say, what happened is they are here because they didn't do certain things which was under their control. They didn't do it right. Okay, so what is that they didn't do right? Okay, see, what we have to understand is savings and investments alone cannot help you achieve financial freedom. Okay, contingency planning is equally important. Okay, so what happens is, like say for example, if you are actually like investing your money or saving your money to achieve financial freedom or any other goal, and if you are not actually covered your contingencies, there is a fair chance that you will be pushed down the pyramid of wealth, basically, in case of a contingency base. Okay, so when you want to plan to achieve financial freedom, contingency planning is equally important. Okay, so what most people do is they undermine this. Okay, so that is where I think I mean, you will actually, people got pushed overnight from a higher level to a lower level. Okay, in the wealth pyramid. And if you look at the COVID itself pushed millions of people from middle class to poverty. Okay, that was an overnight thing. Okay, so what is that they didn't do? Like say, everybody probably would be saving or investing, but they would not have done the contingency planning in the right way. So it is very, very important and critical, I mean, to have a contingency plan in place. Okay, so what is this contingency plan framework? I mean, this actually, like say, if you look at, again, it is divided into three aspects. One is like say setting up a contingency fund. Second is like say, I mean, having a personal depository. The third one is basically the risk management, which is also known as insurance, basically, in the common terms. Okay, so what is that? I mean, contingency fund, or like say, why is that it is important to maintain? I'm sure, like say, we all understand there could be contingency, there could be loss of income, loss of job. So, but again, you have to have, like say, maintain certain amount of, like say, funds which is always available in liquid form. That is nothing but contingency fund. And also, it is important to know that, I mean, understand that. So you have to maintain this religiously. Okay, so what most people do is like say, okay, so maintain a contingency for a certain period and use it for something else. Right, so that is not what it is intended. That should be untouched. Okay, religiously maintained, and it is meant for a contingency, otherwise it is lying there. Okay, so then how you are going to, like say, make justice to it? Either you can park it to in a savings fund or a liquid fund. The best thing is to, like say, give a auto sweep to your FD. Okay, so give us auto sweep to your savings account to FD. So that is basically, if you look at all the three are savings only, it is not investing, basically. So the contingency fund will be a part of your savings aspect of your, like say, personal finance, and it will be there available at all points in time. You have to maintain it religiously. So that is what is very, very important. In fact, there are some AMCs or asset management companies which actually give you debit cards for liquid funds, which can actually be used as a contingency fund. Okay. So that is the first part of your, like say, contingency framework, is where you have setting up a contingency fund. The second part is, like say, see, collation of all your data and also like financial data, important data, and also shared with your near and dear ones, okay, or your family members. So many a times what happens is, like say, I mean, you have the money, but actually like the family members don't know, but you are not in a situation to actually communicate where is that and how to, like say, access it. Right. Access to your wealth also is very, very important. Basically, it is not only wealth creation. If you want the money to actually serve the intended purpose, right? So personal repository is where you actually collate all your information in one place, so that, I mean, you can actually retrieve or share it with your, like say, family members in case of, like say, an emergency. Okay, so typically people probably do it in an Excel sheet and or like say somewhere, and they will actually store it there. You can also like use platforms like myMoneySage, where you actually can collect all your asset classes. Like say it could be your EPF, PPF, real estate, jewelry, whatever it is. You can actually put it there, mutual funds, stocks, and also like say track it, and also you can share those like say what you call passwords with your family members. You can also add family members records. And second is, like say, I mean, if you want to, I mean, store your statutory, I mean, documents, or it could be your, like say, what you call your Aadhaar, your actually PAN, your DL passport and all. You can also use DigiLocker, which is a Government of India initiative, which is a free digital locker available to you. And the most important part of it is, like say, the password. Okay. So see, one thing is, like say, you have to make sure that you have actually like made this in a secure environment. The second thing is also, like say, the passwords actually, like say, we have to, like, one thing is, if you are having a strong password, it is also difficult to remember. All right. And also it is difficult to share. Okay. So this, that challenge is overcome by, like say, platforms like say Keeper, where you can actually, which is a paid application, where you can actually like generate strong passwords. At the same time, you can also share that with your family members. So that is one thing. And we can also use Zoho Vaults. Zoho Vaults is an Indian, what you call, app. And I personally use Zoho Vault. It is a free application. You can use for sharing, storing your passwords, sharing your passwords with your family members. So that, I mean, in case of a contingency or in case of need of the hour, I mean, it is automatically taken care. And you are not, like say, searching here and there, or like you're not, I mean, hiring a detective to find out what is that, I mean, it was there with you. Right. So having a personal repository is also important for you to, like say, collect all your information, financial information, and also share that, I mean, so that, I mean, it can be retrieved or accessed at the time of contingency. So the third part of that contingency framework is actually like the risk management, or popularly known as insurance. Okay, so so I think since I'm running short of time, I will actually like cover this insurance part and contingency plan, and also the investing part I'll cover in the successive session, where actually like I'll be talking about the investing framework, and also like say will also like be sharing with you a financial planning template where you can generate a financial plan of yours. So that is the second part of the session. There's probably I think second part of the program basically. Okay, so now I think I will quickly cover like I mean the adequacy, the importance of this four risk management tools basically. See, if you look at, I mean, any living, any human being, or like say who's in a society, will actually require these four covers. Okay, the first one is the health cover. Basically, I'm sure you all agree. I mean, you'll also like say, would everyone here in this group will have some kind of an health insurance? But the question comes like say, how much is actually you are having, or like say how much you should have, and also like say, I mean, how to optimize the premium for the whatever the cover sum assured that you have. Right, that is the critical part of it. All the covers which I'm talking about, the critical part is like say whether you have the optimal adequate cover, and whether also you are paying the adequate optimal premiums. The second part of it. Third part of it, okay, in case of a claim, whether it will be honored like without any delay. All right, so the three questions that actually like say has to be answered in case when you're actually like going for risk management. Okay, so the first one is the health cover. I'm sure we are all aware of it. And the second one is income protection, or also popularly known as, let's say, life insurance or term plans, basically. And the third one is critical illness protection. And also, let's say, there are few illnesses listed as critical illness, like cancer, etc. So those, I mean, this critical illness covers will actually it will give you a lump sum money in case, like say, one is diagnosed with those kind of diseases. So it will be like, say, it is, even though you're not hospitalized, basically, if one is diagnosed with, like say, those critical illnesses, that amount of lump sum money comes to that individual. So that is basically the critical illness cover. And disability is basically where, like say, in case one is disabled and not able to work, then there is a kind of, like say, what you call a kind of an income that is being given for a particular period of time. So that is basically the disability cover. Okay, so in case of income protection comes into what you call action only when you are not there. Okay, so that is life cover only when you are not there. But the other three covers are very, very important. Critical, I would say, because these three covers, whether it's a health, critical illness, or disability, will actually you have to encounter when you are alive. Okay, so what is that? Some things that you need to take care in case of, like say, I'll go back to this one. What is a few things, like say, for example, in case of health, we recommend at least to have a 50 so I said the premium. Say, for example, there are top-up plans available, like say for 50 lakhs, you will actually spend around 500 rupees per annum. Okay, so you have to spend 500 rupees per annum to actually, like say, get a 50 lakhs of health cover. Those are not top-up plans. And we also have something called a super top-up, which is expensive than top-up. But again, like say, top-up would be enough if you're not at all covered. Okay, so there are, like say, main ways and means where you can optimize your cover. And also, like say, it is important that you don't combine, like say, multiple what you call, I would recommend not to combine your critical illness what you call cover with your life cover. Basically what happens is, like say, our income protection cover. So what happens is, like say, because in case of, like say, income protection or, like say, life insurance, we recommend until you have to have that cover until you are earning, right? Say, for example, you are actually, like say, plan to earn up to 60 years of age. So then until that age only you should keep paying premiums, and that is only, I mean, like say, for example, you should actually like go for life insurance. Okay, so critical illness is something that you might require for lifelong, and it is not unlike your life insurance. And also it is important to know that you need not require life insurance if you don't have any dependents. So if you don't have dependents, you don't need life insurance. Like say, you don't take, I mean, if you financial dependence, if you don't have any, you don't need to buy a life insurance. And when you are buying life insurance also, you should be aware that you should not be buying a conventional plan. You should go for a term plan, where it is actually like the premium is cheaper. At the same time also, like say, you will get higher cover. Even if you invest the balance amount which you otherwise would have invested in a conventional plan, if you invest in even PPF or, like say, EPF, you would generate an higher corpus. At the same time, you will also have an higher sum assured. So it is important to understand that, okay, so that you actually have a proper what you call insurance plan, so that you are not having enough what you call enough of cover. At the same time, you are not paying too much of premiums. Okay, so yeah, so these are the, like say, four important what you call covers that you should have. And also, like say, make sure that it is actually standalone and adequate, and be mindful of the riders. Basically what happens is they will add this, and also, like say, something which might not be required, something which actually is required for a certain amount of period, and after that not required. So you have to be very mindful of the, like say, riders that you are actually choosing, and also, like say, mindful of the sum assured, mindful of the terms and conditions. And also the most important thing is you have to disclose material information while you're actually buying a policy. Okay, so what happens is, like say, if you're not disclosing, so then the clients might get dishonored. I mean, the clients might not get honored. Ultimately, the objective of you actually paying the premium is that it should actually come handy when in case of contingency. But if you don't disclose material information, which means that if you have some pre-existing, if you don't disclose, so then there's a fair chance that the policy gets rejected. All right. And also, like say, if you look at online versus offline, online is typically 5 to 7% cheaper, the premiums, and offline is typically 5 to 7% expensive. So you can actually choose. I mean, I would recommend to go with online, but make sure that, okay, so that claims are, like say, taken care of, and you are actually like filling the form in the right way, without any non-disclosure, by disclosing all the facts, so that, I mean, in case of claim, I mean, it is honored. Yeah. Okay, so I think I will probably cover this in the next session, and probably I'll open up. I'm open for questions now, and so now I have actually, like, I'll just do a small recap. The first thing that I have actually tried to, I mean, do is to make you become financially literate. I have actually explained the 5 concepts of how it is, all the 5 concepts of, like, say, one is inflation. The second one is understanding asset classes. The third one is, like, say, power of compounding. The fourth one is financial numeracy. Okay, so I have explained all the factors which actually, like, say, constitute, like, what you call financial literacy, and also have spoken about, like, say, only why investing alone or savings alone is not enough to, like, for you to accomplish your financial freedom. So you have to have a contingency plan in place even before you start investing. Okay, so that is, I think, so far I have covered, and I think I am now open for questions. I mean, you can actually ask me any questions now. So in the next session, I'll be covering, like, say, cash flow planning, as well as, like, say, investment framework, and also, like, say, I will be sharing with you a template where you actually have to come prepared. I request all of you to collate on whatever you have, like, say, whether it is your insurance, whether your investments, collate it on an Excel sheet. I'll be sharing a template, financial planning template. Okay, so where, I mean, you have to come with a laptop if you are actually not, I mean, as of now, on a laptop. I mean, next week when we are meeting, so that please come fully prepared. I mean, so that, I mean, we can actually generate a financial plan live. I mean, so that, I mean, you are also, like, say, clear about the concepts, and also, like, say, are able to, like, I mean, do it on your own. Okay, so and now I'm open to questions.
So are you going to share this Excel sheet beforehand with us?
Yes, it will be shared beforehand, like, say, the day before. But in that meanwhile, I'm actually going. I wanted to do 2 things. One is I'm going to give you a quiz. Okay, so you need to answer those questions. Second one is, like, say, you need to collect all your like, say, financial information in an Excel sheet, so that, I mean, by the time I share the financial planning template with you, you are ready, all ready to go.
So where you will send us those questions as quiz, sir?
I'm sharing it now.
Okay.
I'm sharing the link for the quiz now, and yeah, so
in the group, what's the group?
One minute.
So there is a thing, like, a lot of things we know, like, for example, emergency fund need to be kept in the liquid bond and all, or the rider needs to get selected for the future requirement. But the fact is, we are not exactly know that which is the correct rider is to be selected, or which is the correct term policy to be taken, or which is the correct equity fund to be taken for the safe money, or like that. So if that kind of thing, if you have kind of template or some advisory sheet is there, that these are the good things to buy whenever you wanted to select such kind of things, it will be helpful.
Yeah, so that when you are actually doing it the next session, I will actually give you. But again, see, what we have to understand is also, like, so this is finance is something which is actually dynamic in nature. Okay, so suppose, like, say, for example, like, we are telling, okay, so you have to invest in this. Okay, and also, like, say, for example, in case of a liquid fund, or, like, say, for example, like, but that also is subject to change over a period of time. Okay, and also, like, say, it is very, very subjective in nature. Say, for example, what suits you might not suit another person. So our objective is to empower you so that you are taking the decisions. Okay, so that is one part of it. Second part of it is, like, say, for example, you need, like, say, for example, see, there are 2 things. Okay, so one is, like, say, when I'm talking about, like, say, this financial freedom or money management. Okay, so there are things, like, say, for example, where money should work for you. You should not be working for money. Okay, so which also means, say, for example, like, let us assume that, okay, so you have an opportunity cost of, say, for example, 1 hour, you are actually, like, if you quantify, probably you are able to earn, like, say, 1,000 rupees. Okay, I'm just giving you just a random figure. Okay, and say for example, if you are actually need to devote, like say for example, weekly 5 hours to manage your finances. Okay, so which means that, okay, so you are actually allocating 5,000 rupees of your money towards, like say, what you call managing your finances, okay, yourself. Am I right?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so basically there is one thing. Okay, so if it is you are really passionate about it, or like say for example, you can go ahead and do it, and you have to do it. Say for example, see what most people like fail to understand is, so wealth creation can happen by luck, and also it can happen by skill. Skill is something which can be repeated over a period of time. Okay, so luck is not something which cannot always be repeated. Okay, so
Correct.
that is very, very important for us to understand. Okay, so when you are actually, deploying yourself, on that. So one thing is like, say for example, like say if your cost is 1,000 rupees, and if somebody else is doing it for 100 rupees per hour, okay, which you will be saving some 900 rupees, which you can spend it with your family, right? So then you should actually outsource it. Okay, so but if you think you are passionate enough and you can take the right decisions and you are willing to learn, then you can also do it in yourself. Basically, there is no harm in it. Okay, so that requires it requires quite a number of, say for example, I have become what I am over a period of 20 years. Okay, so it will also not happen overnight. So it will actually come with some money mistakes that you will do. You will learn over a period of time. So then you will actually do it. So there is an experimentation cost also involved. So it is always a balance between, like say, what is that, like say you actually want and what is already that you have. And it has to be a rational decision. And it has to be again an economic decision, not an emotional decision.
Correct, for sure. Thank you.
So I have shared the what we call the link for the quiz. So which you actually like say you can take the quiz, and also like say the before you all like join for the next session, I would have shared the what you call the financial planning template. So I would also request all of you to like what you call collect all your financial information in one place, so that you are not scrambling for data on that day. So that we are all like aligned, and the session can be more productive. So I have like say 6-7 more minutes. If you have any more questions, I can answer them.
Yeah, I think most of the things are getting clear slowly. It is very difficult to get it in one go, all the things clear.
So that is
more interaction. Yeah, definitely will help, and then we can go ahead together further.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think so thank you all for actually making it early this morning. I do appreciate your intent as well as the efforts that you're putting in. I strongly believe that financial literacy and discipline is the key to one's financial freedom, and I'm sure now you have the key, and I'll show the path, and it's all your willingness and ability to achieve it. Wish you all the best. See you sometime next week.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for a nice session.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Sir, thank you so much.